Good morning, Tartesso, and welcome to our Tartesso News for the week of February 15th, 2016. My name is Cassandra.
And I'm Caleb. Please stand for your Pledge of Allegiance.
Our story today takes us to Lake Victoria in Africa, where bacterial infections are happening at a rapid pace. All it takes is a snail, a worm, and some freshwater to become infected. Once you are, the disease could parasite for decades and prove fatal. The curlperts come as a pair of freshwater snails harboring parasitic worms. Once released from the snails, the worms can burrow into the skin and deep inside the blood of any human daring to enter its water. The infection at hand is schistosomiasis, also known as bilharzia, a chronic infection caused by a parasitic schistosoma. Worms that can live inside blood vessels for years on end, causing fever, chills, and inflammation in their wake. Any freshwater which has these snails in them could be the cause of infection, says Alan Fenwick, professor of tropical parasitology at Imperial College London.
For those of you who are afraid of the ocean, you may want to plug your ears because there's trouble under the waves. 2015 was a record year for the number of shark attacks. 98 attacks were reported around the globe, and 6 of them resulted in death. So why are there so many of these big fish attacking? Experts say it's not because sharks have gotten a taste for people, but because people are getting closer and closer to them. Warmer ocean temperatures also played a big role in bringing sharks and people together. The expression, "it's more likely to get struck by lightning than it is to get attacked by a shark," soon may not apply. Let's go over to me with sports. Good morning, Tartesso Tigers. This is Caleb with your sports news. The NFL playoffs have finally come to a close with the Denver Broncos as the Super Bowl champions. When interviewers asked Peyton Manning if he was going to retire, he said that he was going to reflect and think about it, but that he hadn't decided yet. 4-time Pro Bowler linebacker Von Miller was nominated the 2016 Super Bowl MVP. For school football, the Colts lost their first 2 games, but they played again last Thursday. I'll get you the score next week. For school girls basketball, the JV team's record is 0-4, but played last Thursday. The varsity's record is 4-0 and also played last Thursday. I'll get you those scores next week. That's all for sports news.
Thank you, Caleb. Let's go over to Angie with our interview.
Good morning, Tartesso Elementary. My name is Angie, and I'm back this week with another teacher interview. Joining me this week is Miss Quinn. Good morning.
Good morning.
My first question for you is, how long have you been teaching?
I've been teaching for 24 years, if you include when I homeschooled my daughters for 14 years and all of the public school teaching that I've done.
My second question for you is, what inspired you to become a teacher?
What inspired me to become a teacher is a teacher that I had when I was in high school. He was my ag teacher, and his name was Mr. Toops, and he spent a lot of time with us. He helped us, he cared about us, and I remember one afternoon when he spent an hour and a half walking around and talking with me in the parking lot about what I wanted to do with my future. And so he is what inspired me to become a teacher.
My third question for you is, what is your favorite food?
My favorite food is any food that is good. I like all food. I like Italian food, pizza, I like Mexican food, I like chocolate cake. Any food that is good and prepared well, I like it.
My fourth question for you is, what is your favorite thing to do outside of school?
My favorite thing to do outside of school, obviously, as all my students know, is to ride my horse and run barrels. But I like to do any kind of activity.
My fifth and final question for you is, where did you teach in the beginning of your teaching years?
I first started teaching in 1985, and I taught at an alternative school. It was called Les Arnold High School, and I taught all subjects. And an alternative school is a school where kids have dropped out or have problems, possibly teenage moms or whatever their problem might be, but they have special circumstances where they have to go to school and have special accommodations made. So my first years of teaching were at an alternative school, and like I said, I taught all subjects.
Thank you, Tartessa Elementary, for watching, and thank you, Ms. Quinn, for joining me. Come back next week for another teacher interview.
From everyone at the Tartessa News, we'd like to wish these students a very happy birthday.
Let's go over to David with Week in History.
Good morning, Tartesso. Welcome to Week in History with David, week of February 16th, 2016. Okay, February 21st, 1994, CIA agent Aldrich Ames was arrested on charges he spied for the Soviet Union from 1985 to 1991. Happy birthday to American politician Wendell Willkie, who was born in Elwood, Illinois. February 18th, 1892. He was the Republican nominee for president in the 1940s, running against Franklin D. Roosevelt. He would be 124 this week. See you next time, Tartesso History Buffs.
Thanks, David. Next up is Jesus with our tech.
Welcome to this week's Tech Tip with Jesus. Thinking about building a computer yourself, you probably don't want your sensitive parts to short out or sensitive break due to too much static being transferred to the parts. Therefore, you should get yourself an anti-static mat, which usually goes for around $15 on Amazon. The anti-static mat should help with preventing static from being transferred to your parts. You could also get yourself an anti-static wrist strap, which is usually cheaper. Either one will work just fine. Come back next week for a new tech tip.
Thanks, Jesus. Let's go over to Nick with Fun Fact Trivia.
Welcome to Fun Fact Trivia, Nicholas. You got 3 facts? Guess which one's right. A. Donald Trump was in the military academy when he was little for being a bad kid. B. Ted Cruz was the 35th senator of Texas. C. Marco Rubio was named the #1 most influential person in New York Times Magazine. Got 10 seconds. Guess which one's right. If you said A, you are correct. Come back next week for more Fun Fact Trivia.
Thanks, Nick. Let's go over to Cassandra with the word of the week.
Hey, Tartesso, and welcome to this segment called Word of the Week. The word for this week is creativity. The word creativity is a noun, and the definition for creativity is the use of imagination or original ideas, especially in the production of artistic work. That is all for Word of the Week. If you have a word that you might want to put on Tartessa News, have your teacher email Mr. Wizard, and we would like you to get involved. Come back next week for more Word of the Week. That is all for your Tartessa News this week.
Come back and see us next week.